Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men, women, children, and everyone else, it is time for me to go back to my roots and deliver you guys another iceberg chart, this one on creator downfalls. If you've watched my channel for a couple of years, you'll probably already know what an iceberg chart is. But in case you're new, an iceberg chart is a way of presenting information with the most common knowledge and light-hearted entries at the top, and the more obscure and darker ones towards the bottom. Almost all of the stories that I'm going to discuss today involve some very serious subject matter, so viewer discretion is advised. I should also mention that with the amount of content creators that we're about to discuss, I have to give you guys the highlights and the footnotes, because if I spent 10 minutes talking about one creator, I would be here till 2025, it just wouldn't be possible. But of course, I will give you guys the important stuff. So with that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy. First up in this top section of the iceberg, we have one that you should definitely know about. It's the one and only Colleen Ballinger, often known as Miranda Sings. Previously considered by some to be one of the OGs of the platform, her downfall occurred in July 2023 after it was discovered that she had interacted inappropriately with some of her fans that were underage. For example, she had previously asked one of her fans named Adam McIntyre if he was a virgin and what his favourite sex position was, even going as far as to sending him her lingerie when he was 13 years old.
So this was what I was sent. I don't even know, sorry, I don't know which way this goes.
Ballinger, on the other hand, was 17 years his senior. Adam would claim that she shared private details of her divorce with him, that she got him to go onto gossip forums for her, and that she used his savvy social media skills for free, but then blamed him for some slight backlash to some of the tweets that Adam made and cut him loose, but not before badmouthing him. This response now sits at 2 million views. And speaking of responses, it was Colleen Ballinger's response to the situation that would cement her as having one of, if not the most notorious creator downfall of all time. I'm sure that you know it by now, but in case you don't, instead of admitting to what she did or trying to dispute the allegations like most people do, 99% of people do that, she instead, in what has to be considered one of the white girl moves of all time, she instead decided to whip out a ukulele and sing a song about it. Colleen, okay listen, your manager told us you have to lie low for a while. Whatever you do, don't double down and tell everyone they're wrong. Fuck. This song, known as the Toxic Gossip Train, is to this very day possibly the weirdest apology of all time. Only one other apology rivals it, which we'll get into further on in the iceberg. More than a year later, and while she hasn't posted onto her main channel since, she does upload a couple of times a week onto Colleen Vlogs, a channel that she uses to show off her daily life. To this very day, she still sees thousands of dislikes per video. People are still actively hating on her. She now goes down in history as perhaps the main archetype of a downfallen content creator. But we have plenty more stories to tell today, so with that said, let's move on.
Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake and then go back home.
EDP445, real name Bryant Morland, is a content creator who was exposed back in April 2021 for trying to meet up with an underage girl, a girl that he thought was 13 years old. But this girl didn't exist, and EDP was instead caught up in one of, if not the most, infamous YouTube predator stings of all time. The then 30-year-old had 2 million subscribers at the time and was fairly liked within his community. But in the time since, he's become the punchline of a tremendous amount of jokes. Now, I'm not going to be able to show much of any of this. The YouTube channel that exposed him is now terminated, and I would assume it's because this was technically vigilantism. However, during the course of the sting operation, they would get EDP to admit to various deviant desires, and at one point, he even sent the fake girl a picture of his poop. I have no idea why, maybe he got off to that sort of thing. Nonetheless, in the years since, he's tried to find various weird and wacky excuses about how the entire thing was fake. For example, at one point, he claimed that he was meant to be method acting as a predator because he had been told by a production company that they were screen testing for a film role.
So let's assume he didn't know he was going to be acting as a pedophile. The second that they start spitballing this improv at him, like, okay, so all of these chat logs with this child, you're a pedophile, you're a pedophile. Why would he play along with it? What opportunity did you think this was? How would portraying a child molester be like this golden goose for you? You are already a successful YouTuber with millions of subscribers, but this was your ticket to the big time? You know, this role you thought you were playing, like the role of method acting a fucking pedophile?
And at one point tried to change his name because getting a job was near impossible for him with all the baggage attached. His returns to the internet just made him more and more infamous. If he would have just left it all together, he might have been able to salvage something. But today he's back on YouTube with about 30,000 subscribers for now. I don't know if YouTube actually know about this, but if they do, he's essentially at their mercy. He's now known throughout YouTube as a laughingstock and a predator, making him one of the most famous downfalls in internet history. In a similar vein, James Charles's name is now tarnished on the internet after he was exposed a couple of years ago for a slew of sex allegations.
Within the past couple of weeks, 2 different people, both under the age of 18, have recently come forward saying that they had inappropriate messages with me on social media.
These started back in 2019 after he was accused of trying to flip a heterosexual man. Tati Westbrook would make a video about it, and James Charles would be the very first YouTuber to lose 1 million subscribers in 24 hours. However, after his response video, No More Lies, he was able to disprove a lot of the accusations, and the tables turned on Tati. She would later delete her video after Charles was able to refute many of her claims. She would also allege that Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star had manipulated her into doing it. But by this point, his reputation had already taken a hit. Flash forward 2 years, and he was then alleged to have sent inappropriate messages to teenage boys when he was 21 years old. According to Cosmopolitan, in February 2021, he was publicly accused of sending lewd photographs and inappropriate sexual messages to a then 16-year-old fan. According to The Guardian, a total of 15 sexual misconduct allegations were made, and these ones would be much harder to get away from. He would release a response video titled Holding Myself Accountable. Within this video, he claimed that he was under the impression that each alleged victim was 18 on account of being told as such by them.
In both of these cases, I added these people on Snapchat, asked how old they were right away, was told that they were 18, believed them, engaged in a flirty conversation, and then later on found out that they were actually 16. Upon finding out, I was immediately embarrassed and blocked both people.
Unfortunately for Charles, however, sponsors would sever ties with him following the news. However, 3 years later, and this video is now private. You can see re-uploaded versions of the video where people within the comment sections aren't too happy about it, saying that he hasn't truly held himself accountable if he's privated the original. The argument is that he seems like he's trying to get away from it, to sweep it under the rug. All that said, compared to the likes of EDP and Colleen Ballinger, James Charles isn't fully cancelled. He still gets hundreds of thousands of views per video from within his community. Outside of his community, however, almost the entirety of YouTube know about these allegations, and so for the most part, over the past 3 years, he's actually been losing subscribers. Moving on, but still staying in that top level of the iceberg, we have the React queen of YouTube herself, Sssniperwolf.
Last night, Sssniperwolf, a massive YouTuber, showed up outside of our home.
Sssniperwolf has found herself in a tremendous amount of controversy in the past, but her death in the public eye came in October 2023 after she pulled one of the craziest moves in YouTube history. She had made some of the lowest quality, highest viewed videos on the platform for some time. Her reaction videos were known to be essentially the definition of YouTube slop. She would essentially steal videos, she wouldn't give creators any credit, sometimes even cropping out their tags, and she wouldn't add much to transform the content, with her videos being so predictable that Jax Films would create a bingo game with his audience based on her content. Anytime she would add worthless commentary, or just not react for example, each player would tick off their boxes until someone got bingo.
We actually might have one. Hold on, gamers. This one looks legit. Unnecessary yelling. Desaturated. Freebooting a freebooted video. Using same creator's vids multiple times. Free space. Black and white. Oh no.
Oh no.
Editing mistake. ×2. Nice. And nothing burger.
Oh hell no.
have yet another winner.
However, after a few months of this, the game seemed to have annoyed Sssniperwolf so much that she went over to Jack's film's house, posting a picture of it onto her Instagram story. In other words, she doxed him. She revealed very personal, private information of his to the entire internet without his consent. This happened while Jack was live streaming. His reaction was recorded for the whole world to see.
Wait, what?
Call the police.
No, there's a video.
She's outside your house right now.
What the f?
Holy shit. She literally
on her
posted
Instagram.
a video on her story 5 minutes ago.
I'm
of her.
reporting.
Oh my god, she
Yeah.
is. She's outside her house.
Fucking record this right now.
She's fucking doxing you. Yeah, that's the.
Yeah, no, this is
Oh
fucker.
my god, that's horrible.
No, that is huge
No,
violation
it's not.
of privacy and so much else. There's so much wrong with that.
She had a total of 5 million followers on Instagram, and people definitely would have been able to work out Jack's film's address from this image, so this was a huge safety breach. This was absolutely not an acceptable response. The worst part was that Sssniperwolf didn't seem to care, making light of the situation shortly after. YouTube would temporarily demonetize her for this, but in the wake of the controversy, people also got a hold of some old clips of her sexualizing minors on Omegle. For example, in one instance, she asked a teenage girl to flash.
Wanna show each other? Sure. Yeah, I'll show you my beat. Oops. You first. I'm shy. Oh damn, you work at Hooters too?
Her downfall was mostly in perception by the public at large, because her videos still get absolutely gargantuan view counts, even if they are a little bit smaller than before. Regardless, she still has to be considered one of the most popular content creators on the platform, even to this very day. But similar to James Charles, her public image is essentially ruined outside of her community at this point.
Tell them about how awful I am to you.
To me?
Yeah.
He keeps biting me.
Now onto the case of William Patrick Spencer Gold, otherwise known as Wilbur Soot. He was an entirely beloved content creator and musician. People loved him for his live streams, for his work on the Dream SMP, for his band Lovejoy, for his progressive takes and quirky persona. But in early 2024, his ex-girlfriend Shelby Grace, who is commonly known online as Shovel, came out to expose him for domestic violence. She claimed that he had a biting fixation, and while she consented to him biting her softly, he would often break her consent by latching on after she told him to let go, causing her to be covered in bruises. After Grace came out, other women that had been involved in his life told their stories, and soon it was becoming apparent that the way in which he treated women allegedly followed a pattern of abuse. This was a topic that I actually covered back when it was breaking. My video on the subject is actually the most viewed one on my channel. In fact, I actually made 2 videos regarding the situation, so if you want my full breakdowns on them, I'll link the videos down in the description. There's going to be more instances throughout this video where I speak about creators that I've already made full videos about, so I'm going to link every single one of them in the description in order. Back onto the story, Wilbur would release a statement onto his Twitter that was criticised for being too corporate, with many people thinking that he had hired a lawyer to write it, so that he could admit to what he did without actually saying what he did. He never addressed Shelby Grace directly, he never said her name, and he didn't address the crux of the allegations. Following this, his band cancelled their upcoming tours and took a temporary break. He hasn't spoken about the allegations since, and he hasn't returned to streaming. In recent months, his band have released new songs, but they haven't lived up to the hype that was seen before the allegations came out. Now, please do keep in mind that nothing has been definitively proven by any means. Unlike many of the stories that I've already covered in this video, for this one, there could still be shadows of doubt. Wilbur himself claimed to have proof that would back his side of the story, but out of respect to Shelby, chose not to release it. If that's true, his decision not to release it is a baffling one, considering that it would potentially clear his name. Based upon both parties' reactions to the allegations, it seems as though most people on the internet have backed Shelby Grace and have scorned Wilbur's name. A name that could now be considered synonymous with the phrase, create a downfall.
I have crippling depression.
Moving on, Idubbbbz is a bit of a controversial one, because depending on who you ask, he either had one of the largest downfalls ever known to YouTube, or to some people, he didn't have one at all. In case you don't know iDubbbz, he's probably best known for being an edgy content creator back in the mid-2010s. He was the one behind the mega viral video series Content Cop, where he would take down infamous content creators such as Tanamojo and Leafy Is Here. He would very frequently use a lot of naughty words and slurs that would certainly get his channel fully demonetized today. Popular humour of the mid-2010s was a lot punchier in many aspects than it is today. However, in the late 2010s, he began changing. He had a girlfriend named Anissa who started an OnlyFans, and to the surprise of many of his fans, iDubbbz, real name Ian Joma, thought that it was completely okay.
My girlfriend started an OnlyFans account, which is a website where you can upload amateur porn. Anything from double penetration all the way over to lewd cosplay, and everything in between. And I think all of it is cool.
Many clips have since surfaced of him being emasculated by his girlfriend on several different occasions.
I just want to ask you if you've always been shitting your pants.
No.
Because since I've known you, you've always had like IBS. You've always been shitting yourself.
Yeah, well.
With him coming out in May 2023 to say that he regretted and despised his old content, claiming to be a changed man.
You know, some of the videos I've made have been very, not edgy. I don't think they you know, some of these videos were edgy. I think they were just outright cruel. So I don't want people to, you know, get it confused about, you know, where I stand. I have made some cruel, hurtful content, and I need to acknowledge that, and I'm really sorry that it's taken me this long to acknowledge it.
In 2023, he would also host Creator Clash 2, a sequel to the highly successful Creator Clash, which pitted big online names to fight each other in a boxing ring, with the proceeds of the event then going to charity. However, when all was said and done, Creator Clash 2 lost money, so no revenue ever went to charity. Many audience members felt as though Ian had stiffed those causes. And so now heading into 2025, his old audience members hate him for his new progressive takes and his wife, whereas people from outside of his audience hate him for his past. He's found himself caught in the middle of hate on both sides. And while he's not entirely cancelled, he still loses tens of thousands of subscribers each and every month. And in the eyes of many of his older fans, he's had a huge downfall.
I hate being alive! I hate being alive! I hate breathing! I hate being alive! I'm in tremendous pain! I'm in tremendous pain! Help me! Help me! Help me!
On to Boogie2988, a content creator that had a huge fall from grace over the past several years. Once considered the Mr. Rogers of the internet, Boogie2988, real name Stephen Jason Williams, has had somewhat of a heel turn throughout the mid to late 2010s and early 2020s. It would take much too long to go through all of his controversies in depth within that time span. Honestly, I'm considering making a Crimes of Boogie video at some point, so please let me know down below if you'd be interested in seeing that. Nonetheless, he's been accused of racism, paedophilia, he was charged with aggravated assault back in 2020, he's been criticised for dating a girl young enough to be his daughter, with his girlfriend being almost 30 years younger than him. He had a documentary come out about him that made the claim that he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on hookers because he felt entitled to have sex with beautiful women because he was YouTube famous.
The women I dated were pretty, sure, but they were like Arkansas 8s, not LA 10s.
He also caused one of these hookers to quit her job because sleeping with him was her rock bottom.
Sleeping with Boogie is one of the reasons I quit sex work. Overall, the experience, and I don't mean to fat shame or anything, but there was rules upon rules upon rules, and it took me a lot of time to find a stick.
He refuses to get a real job despite financially struggling, he's constantly begging his audience for views and money, and when that fails, he's been known to try and scam them. Apparently he used to be quite well off, but a couple of years ago he lost most of his savings and investments to crypto, even though like a year before that he bragged about being rich.
So I don't want you stressed about me, I don't want you worrying about me. If I walk away from YouTube tomorrow, know that I will be just fine. I had a nice big nest egg. I took some financial advice from a friend, and I'm not pointing fingers necessarily. I took the advice, but I put my money in the crypto market in the wrong section, and I pretty much lost most of everything.
And more recently, he supposedly lied about having a non-aggressive form of cancer, which would be outrageous considering that his own father died of cancer. Boogie claims that he mistook information given to him by medical professionals, but a lot of people on the internet believe that this was part of his scheme to have his audience feel pity for him, something that he has an extensive history of doing. All in all, from someone who was once beloved on the platform, Boogie2988 could be considered a textbook downfall, both in terms of views and perception. And speaking of having a textbook downfall, that term could also apply to our next creator, Ava Kris Tyson. You might know Ava Kris Tyson for being a long-time collaborator on MrBeast. This is someone that I'm not going to spend too long talking about, because just like with Wilbur Soot, I've already made a longer video explaining this controversy. Link in the description if you want to check it out. Long story short, Ava Kris Tyson was alleged to have inappropriately interacted with minors within a Discord chat a couple of years ago, and was also said to have purchased the art of an artist who is well known for drawing CP. These two factors combined have made a lot of people believe that Ava Kris Tyson is a predator, with them distributing Jennette McCurdy's leaked nudes, and with them sending minors porn links through Discord arguably being the final straw. Someone known online as Muskina also alleged that they used their power and influence to receive oral sex from Muskina, refusing to return the favour, and generally treating them toxically throughout their relationship. As a result, Ava Kris Tyson has walked away from the MrBeast channel entirely, with some people believing that they were fired. And speaking of MrBeast, he claimed that there was going to be an independent third party to perform an investigation into the allegations. So with all of this coming out, most of the internet seems to be firmly against Ava Kris Tyson now, with the MrBeast brand taking a significant hit in public perception due to these allegations.
I want to be transparent that I've been unfaithful.
Dr. Disrespect was an insanely popular streamer that was mysteriously banned by Twitch in 2020, despite having recently signed a mega streaming deal for the platform. 4 years later, and we finally figured out why. Just like most of the creators up in this top tier, it was for sexual allegations. In the summer of 2024, it was revealed by the former Twitch account director of strategic partnerships Cody Ko that Dr. Disrespect was caught sexting a minor. He would publish a viral tweet about this onto Twitter, finishing off the tweet by saying that the case was closed. Just as I said earlier, this was for some time a mystery. Dr. Disrespect, real name if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Guy Beam, would respond to the allegations, saying that he was limited in what he could say, but that he didn't do anything wrong or illegal, and that everything had now been settled. Now, I need to mention that as far as I'm aware, this hasn't been proven for an absolute, undeniable fact. But in the course of public opinion, most people find Dr. Disrespect guilty. I've scanned the internet for what he's doing today, and according to various articles, it appears as though he wasn't offered streaming deals on platforms such as Rumble and Kick, both of which have forged somewhat of a reputation for hoovering up controversial personalities. Dr. Disrespect is streaming on YouTube, however, and despite there being articles saying that he's demonetized on here, I've received ads on his streams, and especially with such high viewership numbers, he does seem to still be kicking online, and generally appears to be unfazed by the allegations, despite being hated by a lot of people now. And so wraps up the first layer of the iceberg. Moving down the iceberg now, this next set of creator downfalls are still probably going to be known by most people watching this video, but they might not be quite as famous as those on the top layer. So let's go to tier 2.
Okay, I get it, right? These are like attractive teens.
First up in this tier, we have Cody Ko, who happened to be cancelled around the same time as Dr. Disrespect, who we just spoke about a moment ago. The cause of his downfall was the inappropriate relationship that he had with Tana Mojo when he was 25, and she was just 17. Cody Ko is perhaps best known for his That's Cringe series, but the real cringe came after Tana confessed that she had been intimate with a successful male YouTuber several years ago, despite the pair's 8-year age gap. Internet sleuths were able to deduce that the person that she was talking about was in fact Cody Ko, who ever since then has broadcast radio silence on his channel. He was also cut from TMG Studios, a podcast and merch network that he started alongside Noel Miller. And he's lost around 350,000 subscribers ever since the allegations became mainstream. Once widely regarded as one of the most entertaining creators on the platform, his fall from grace was heartbreaking for many of his fans. With this being somewhat of a recent cancellation, it's currently unknown if he'll ever make a return to content creation.
Ned, are there any secrets that you're hiding from us?
Don't think so.
That's a lie.
Oh boy.
Next up, we have Ned Fulmer, formerly of the Try Guys. Ned's downfall is also one that I've spoken about in the past in my video about YouTube controversies and scandals, which I'll link down below. But his cancellation happened after he cheated on his wife Ariel back in late 2022. Ned Fulmer was of course known as the wife guy on the Try Guys. He was best known for making jokes about being a father and a husband and whatnot, so this came as a huge surprise to many people. Especially since he cheated on his wife Ariel with an employee, there were also HR concerns, and so Ned Fulmer was fired from the Try Guys. His reputation was set alight. The Try Guys moved on without him, and while I don't want to speculate, I can't imagine that it was good for his marriage. He was once beloved by his audience and the rest of the Try Guys. They toured together, they had one of the most recognizable brands on YouTube. They were at each other's weddings. To this very day, people still comment hate on his Instagram. This is textbook creator downfall.
I was never taught what laws there are. I was never taught what laws there are.
Speaking of textbook creator downfalls, next up we have Dave from Boyinaband. Once a heralded name in the YouTube music scene, today he's but a bad memory of somebody that a lot of his audience members trusted that turned out to be a villain. Allegedly. Boyinaband, real name David Paul Brown but commonly known as Dave, had collaborated with some of the platform's largest creators such as The Odd Ones Out, Jaden Animations, and PewDiePie. But in late 2022, a group of his ex-partners apparently banded together to create a post in the Boyinaband subreddit that detailed a history of abuse that he had exhibited towards them. From allegations such as dating a 17-year-old when he was 23, to saying that he was quite literally attracted to pre-teenage girls, and alleging that he used his power and influence, as well as the guise of being polyamorous, to use, abuse, and dominate his ex-partners. He's also been accused of being a domestic abuser and body shamer, which is even worse considering that in his collaboration with Jaden Animations, they wrote a song together that was meant to spread body positivity based on Jaden's personal experience. After the allegations came out, Jaden took down the video. People quickly started memeing him, bringing up a lyric from his song Don't Stay in School, where Dave says, "I don't even know what laws there are."
I was never taught what laws there are. I was never taught what laws there are.
To this day, Dave has never broken his silence about these allegations and hasn't made a return to the internet since they were made.
These allegations are absolutely false.
On to Tobuscus. He was once one of the most popular gaming YouTubers on the platform back in the early 2010s, but in 2016, after being accused of SA by his ex-girlfriend, he had a radical personality shift on camera. It seems as though when this was going on, people thought that the reason for his downfall was because he had abandoned his channels for a while right before the controversy. It's very possible that around this time he was burnt out and noticing changes within the algorithm. Let's Players often uploaded multiple times a day, but YouTube's algorithm began changing in the mid-2010s, essentially leading to the extinction of the Let's Play channel. Throughout the next few years, Tobuscus' channel would frequently go on hiatus after hiatus, with him returning to a dwindling audience with each and every stop and start. To add to this, Toby had been doing YouTube for years. It's very possible that by the mid-2010s, his audience had grown up and were no longer interested in his content. Regardless, Tobuscus' reputation was shredded in the eyes of many at this point. And to add to that, the platform had changed so that the bread and butter of his content, aka gaming videos, became a relic of the site, at least in the way that he did them. Flash forward to today, and it appears as though he doesn't really care for gaming anymore either. Very recently, he made a return to Toby Games for essentially the first time in 4 years. Would his online career have gone the same way if those allegations were never made? It's tough to say. And I should also mention that though these accusations were made public, it's to my knowledge that they never went any further than that. Based on the comments section of a re-uploaded response that he made, most people that watched it seemed to believe that the ex was lying and that she had ruined his career. But regardless, these allegations, alongside frequent hiatuses and YouTube's ever-changing platform, were enough to ensure a downfall of almost unrivaled proportions. Today, Tobuscus still uploads, albeit very rarely on his Toby Turner and Toby Games channels. And on his main, despite having more than 6 million subscribers, he hasn't broken 100,000 views on a video in almost a year.
I have nothing to apologize for because I did not sexually assault Jack Wright.
On to another downfall that I've spoken about in the past. Up next we have the Sienna Mae scandal. I spoke about this incident about 2 years ago in my video about TikTok scandals. In case you haven't seen that video though, let's have a quick recap. So Jack Wright and Sienna Mae were, and still are, incredibly popular TikTokers. And starting in October 2020, they appeared together in a number of their online posts. So many in fact that people started theorizing that the two of them might be entering into a relationship with each other. However, after a while, fans began to notice that the two's collaboration frequency took a sudden and sharp downturn. But soon they would get an explanation why after Jack Wright's friend Mason Rizzo dropped a bombshell on Twitter accusing Sienna Mae of sexually assaulting Jack while he was drunk at a party. After which, an apparent witness of the event, Lachlan Hannenman, would come forward a few days later and post a video on TikTok, which would be considered by many to be damning evidence as it showed a seemingly extremely inebriated Jack Wright passed out on the couch as Sienna Mae straddled him, made out with him, and reached for his privates. Lachlan said that quickly after recording the video, he separated the two of them. In response to this, Sienna Mae would send out cease and desist letters and would claim that Jack was not passed out in the video, but was in fact awake. A few months later, in January 2022, Jack Wright finally broke his silence and came out with a 17.5-minute video titled What Sienna Mae Did to Me, which has since garnered over 20 million views, and it received overwhelming support from his audience. Within the video, he claimed that what Hannenman said was true, that he was indeed unconscious, and that what Sienna Mae did to him was unconsented.
I was passed out unconscious almost like the whole night. She got on top of me, took advantage of me, groped me. I'm so glad they pulled her off of me, and honestly, I'm glad that they have evidence.
So we've heard Jack Wright's response. What about Sienna Mae? Sienna would come out on TikTok to address the allegations, saying that she refused to apologize because there was nothing to apologize for. She was steadfast in the narrative that he was awake and consenting.
I unequivocally deny the allegations that I sexually assaulted Jack Wright. It's currently 2 a.m. and I've been listening to everyone around me tell me what to do all day and what I shouldn't say, and I basically just want to come on here because I'm not making an apology video. This is more of a statement. I didn't want to bring this online, as I said in my statement earlier, but this has gotten to a point where my name is being dragged in the mud and I am going to stand up for myself and tell the truth. I have nothing to apologize for because I did not sexually assault Jack Wright.
And for those of you who know this story, you know what happens next. For whatever reason, I don't know why, she decides to do an interpretive dance to reflect how she feels in what has to go down as one of, if not the worst, apology or response video of all time. Hands down. It came off as hyper insensitive. I have no idea what she was thinking. Like, this is the only other response in internet history that could possibly rival the toxic gossip train for how oblivious the creator has to be. It's tough to even express myself. I have a script here. I still can't even put this into words. That said, while I think it's fair to say that she had a downfall for a moment because of this, her social media hasn't exactly capitulated like some of the other people that I've spoken about. According to her social blade, she hasn't gained any new followers since the story broke, but she still gains hundreds of thousands, oftentimes millions of views per video, and tens of thousands of likes every Instagram post. So while she hasn't expanded, she also hasn't lost a lot of her core audience. For people outside her audience, however, she's widely considered as an internet villain.
This type of sex pest behavior is normalized, and a lot of people think this stuff is normal when I don't think that it is.
Moving on, Andrew Callaghan was well regarded as one of the top independent journalists on YouTube, with currently more than 2.5 million subscribers on his main account, Channel 5. Whenever a big story of our times was breaking, he had a penchant for smelling it out, getting out there, and giving his audience a flavour of how things were on the ground. However, in January 2023, he came under heavy fire for sexual misconduct with a number of women. Long story short, a few women came out to claim that Andrew Callaghan had made them feel pressured or coerced to do things whilst intimate that they weren't that willing to do. In response, Andrew claimed that he had always taken no for an answer. However, in the past, he had been quite persistent in trying to get what he wants in an intimate setting, going on to say that if someone seemed reluctant, he thought they were playing hard to get. He would defend himself from some of the allegations by mentioning that a lot of the things that were said about him online were not true, but he thanked people for coming forward with their experiences and stated that he planned to start therapy and join Alcoholics Anonymous. Some people, though, weren't too happy that this response came out on his second channel. They suspected that this was a manipulative way to try and come out and admit to his wrongdoings, while simultaneously making sure that not all of his main channel supporters knew about the allegations. Maybe this was his thought process. Then again, maybe not. Whatever the case, he would step away from YouTube for almost an entire year, uploading his response in late December 2022 and not returning to the site until October 2023. And while it could be considered that he had a downfall in 2023, losing roughly 50,000 subscribers, 2024 was a different story. And he's been able to make a recovery better than almost anyone else I'll be mentioning today, gaining tens of thousands of subscribers every month, sometimes even 6 figures worth. Whether or not you forgive him for his past actions is a personal choice, but Andrew Callaghan's downfall was a very brief one, all things considered.
Both her lawyers and judge seem to be fully unaware that I am not the real cause of her pain and misery. Blair is. Blair's actions are the reason we are here.
However, from a creator whose downfall was relatively small and brief, to one that could have had, potentially, the largest downfall of all time if we're talking pure numbers, next up we have Illuminaughtii. Her downfall came in mid-2023 after she had a freak out on Twitter because she thought that a Legal Eagle editor had plagiarized her editing style. This happened after the editor came to her to try and get some advice and guidance. But Illuminauttii's reaction to this would be fairly stupid for a number of reasons. Firstly, at this point, almost everyone in the YouTube documentary scene use essentially the exact same style of editing. I would say that about 80% of the content creators in the same realm of content as myself and Illuminaughtii are just straight up Sunny V2 clones, so maybe you can make an argument for them being plagiarists. Speaking for myself, I try to keep my content fresh and original and unique to me, but there's definitely some overlap between myself and some other creators. But nobody owns the right to an effect like the highlighter effect or the torn paper border, and it's ridiculous to suggest this. What's more ludicrous, however, is saying this while being a plagiarizer yourself, as it was later proven that Illuminaughtii had plagiarized documentaries word for word in the past.
Then in 1995, he was suspended from practicing medicine and made to pay a $10,000 fine for his misuse and misprescribing of controlled drugs.
Then in 1995, he was suspended from practicing medicine and made to pay a $10,000 fine for his misuse of prescribing controlled drugs.
To add to that, you've got to feel for the editor. There could have been a realistic possibility that if the Legal Eagle team had acted rashly, the editor that was a fan of hers and was inspired by her style could have been fired. Following this, various other allegations were made. Allegations that would take much too long to do a deep dive into unless I wanted to make this like a 10-hour video. The controversy section on her Wikitubia is 3,000 words long, so I'd recommend you taking a look at a full video if you want expanded details. But for the bare bones details, she's been accused of bullying, making fake accounts to harass former friends and employees, manipulating her friends and audience, mocking people for mental health issues, deleting videos on other people's channels as revenge for a fat joke, paying to silence her critics, and much, much more. Prior to these controversies, an Illuminaughtii video would be almost guaranteed to hit a few 100,000 views, but afterwards the fall off was immense, and by the end of the year it was a rarity that her videos reached 50,000. Her social blade features one of the most dramatic declines I've ever seen. A textbook fit for this video for sure. But with that, we have to say goodbye to the second tier of the iceberg and move down into the third, where more obscure and dark stories await.
For the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion.
Kicking off tier 3, although I don't think this is quite as obscure as some of the other stories that we're about to get into, just because of how long this went on, and because this happened to children, I'd say that this deserves to be down here just based on how severe it is. Ruby Franke was a mother and online content creator best known for being part of 8 Passengers, a YouTube family channel that has since become the textbook definition of what a hidden abusive family channel looks like. 8 Passengers have more than 2.6 million subscribers. However, many people were concerned when they saw a lot of red flags in their videos. There were things said by the children and even the parents within the videos that just didn't sit right to many viewers. A lot of people thought that Ruby Franke's Iron Fist way of parenting was much too strict, and that punishments that she had delivered to her children were at times cruel. For example, she once threatened to behead one of her children's teddy bears, she once made her oldest son sleep on bean bags for months, and she would constantly reveal embarrassing information about the children within her videos. Information that I'm sure that nobody would want out there in the open, let alone information available to the 2.5 million people that watched. Eventually, the channel came to an abrupt stop, and Ruby Franke and her husband Kevin got separated. By this point, many people had their eyes on the channel, and it was later deactivated. In August 2023, however, her son showed up at a neighbour's house, visibly malnourished, with visible injuries on his skin and duct tape stuck to his limbs. Ruby Franke was later arrested for 6 counts of child abuse. According to her Wikipedia, on the 20th of February 2024, Franke received 4 consecutive sentences of between 1 and 15 years imprisonment, meaning that she must serve a minimum of 4 years behind bars, although the maximum term that could be imposed for all sentences would be 60 years. One thing you'll see as we keep going down this iceberg is that I generally consider being banned from a platform or being arrested as having a larger downfall than just allegations. And speaking of being banned,
once YouTube learned about this, his channel was promptly terminated.
Itsowen had a downfall of almost unrivaled proportions after some frankly sickening behaviour following the passing of the much beloved Technoblade in June 2022. If you don't know Technoblade, he was a hugely popular Minecraft content creator that was diagnosed with a rare type of cancer back in 2021. He would pass away a year later at the age of 23. So for Itsowen to try and capitalise off Technoblade's death and use it to earn a huge payday, to this very day, more than 2 years later, still boils my blood. Itsowen has always been a grifter. He had already been banned from YouTube before for self-promotion, spam, and misleading videos. However, after Technoblade's death, he would take it much further. Because after he made his Itsowen account and built up to having millions of subscribers, he would still create misleading videos and clickbait thumbnails in order to get people to click on his content. He would rack up 3.5 million subscribers by doing this, and one of the groups that he would most commonly clickbait were people from the Dreamsmpofficial. This was a group comprised of the largest names in Minecraft, including the likes of Dream, Tommyinit, Wilbur Soot, and Technoblade. Usually this would be fairly harmless, but still a bit annoying. For example, at one point, he made a video saying that Dream's face reveal had been leaked, and then in the video, it was a blatant lie. This kind of content is misleading and it's probably worth repercussions, but it's not the worst thing in the world. But after Technoblade died, he would make a bunch of videos whose titles were along the lines of Technoblade's last words, or Mr. Beast says his final goodbye to Technoblade. These videos were fake though. They would show irrelevant clips. So in essence, he was trying to monetize the death of a 23-year-old. He went from 3 million subscribers to 0 in a click of a button.
Obtaining wealth from the death of a prominent figure is horrible.
I'll make this next one brief because it's in the exact same category as Itsowen. Maybe we can get YouTube in on this one as well. This channel, run along, used to be called Dreamsmpofficial. If you take a look at its most popular videos, they went up in July 2022, right after Technoblade's passing. This channel also monetized the death of Technoblade, and in my opinion should be culled from the platform because of it. It changed its name to Runalong after the Dreamsmp ended and was no longer profitable. This is yet another money-hungry grifter. It still posts a few videos about Technoblade to this very day, alongside a bunch of gambling content for good measure. The person behind this channel rode their wave on the death of a young man. They couldn't just let him rest. They saw a 23-year-old die and had money signs in their eyes. Despite saying that the money from these videos were being donated to charity, I refused to believe it. Going from millions of views to barely 5 figures on new uploads, Run Along has had a severe fall off.
Yeah, I shouldn't have drunk. I shouldn't have drunk.
I also want to include Justaminx in the third tier of this iceberg. Real name Rebecca Rowe, she was once a very large name in the live streaming community, collaborating with other huge figures such as QT Cinderella and Austin Show. Now, Minx had a history of controversial behaviour, from using slurs for white people on stream to pressuring people into stripping during a drinking game at TwitchCon. And in the latter of those two, you can find the thing that many people believe led to the downfall of Justaminx, that being her relationship with alcohol. By early 2023, people had noticed that Justaminx had a long history of getting drunk, becoming unhinged and rambunctious, and going way over the top, oftentimes putting herself, or potentially other people, at risk. There are many clips that have surfaced on the internet of Minx at house parties jumping through tables, or live on stream being so drunk that she can barely speak or walk.
She went on the strats and for Rick and then
Now what are you gonna do? Are you okay, bro? Lauren.
oh my god, is she okay?
And this behaviour apparently began growing a wedge stuck between her and her influencer friends, specifically QT Cinderella. QT is well known to throw big events for streamers and content creators, creating the Streamer Awards in 2022 that, as the name suggests, awards streamers for their efforts in the industry. The first year's edition would be a success, but come the second year, there would be trouble in the form of a drunk Irish woman. Minx decided to buy balcony tickets to attend, but was told by QT that she could sit down on the floor with the other big streamers, provided she doesn't drink. Clearly by this point, a rift had grown between them, and QT must have known that Minx and alcohol don't mix. Minx agreed, but she would drink anyway. Apparently, she drank a lot, being wasted by the time she got to the after party. According to various attendees, she wreaked havoc at the party, attempting to throw heaters and people into the pool.
I get to the party, she's wasted. She is getting escorted out by security because she's trying to throw heaters into the pool.
I heard she was trying to throw Sykkuno in the pool.
Yeah, and people, she was trying to run in the pool.
Is a bad thing.
Also
It's
bad.
also a bad thing.
Also bad.
This caused her to be escorted out by security, but not before she apparently had a seizure, causing her to go limp and becoming hospital bound. The party was shut down shortly afterwards, causing QT to lose roughly $50,000. Minx would argue her side on Twitter, causing even more beef between herself and QT Cinderella. QT thought that she went limp in defiance of being kicked out, using her stay in hospital as an excuse. QT then cut ties entirely. The two's friendship was officially over. Minx would travel back to Ireland after this, having broken bonds with many of her former friends. She hasn't uploaded to YouTube in a year now, and since March 2023, coincidentally the exact time that the 2023 Streamer Awards took place, she's been consistently losing followers on Twitch with each passing month. I think that I can speak for all of us when I say that I hope that Minx has improved her relationship with alcohol ever since.
It sucks, but that is how our society seems to conduct itself lately.
Next up we have Behind the Meme, a channel with currently a little more than 700,000 subscribers. As the channel's name suggests, its videos were made to explain various memes. Especially in the mid-2010s, memes were extremely random. They came out of nowhere, and oftentimes meant nothing. So as more people wanted to be kept abreast of the latest memes, Behind the Memes channel quickly grew. But many people that thought of themselves as memers didn't like the channel, because to them, in a very robotic, corporate tone, he would suck the life out of these jokes by explaining them to normies. And the second that normies got a hold of these memes, they would no longer be funny. To give you an example, Facebook used to be the hip and cool social media platform, and then everyone's grandparents got it, and now it's not. However, there were other critiques to be had when it came to Behind the Meme. He oftentimes ripped entire articles from Know Your Meme, so all he'd need to do is see a suggestion, look it up on Know Your Meme, copy, paste, and he'd have a brand new video. He often made many mistakes when it came to explaining memes too. Memers of the mid to late 2010s were very passionate about meme culture, and so to have a person who in their eyes was a normie come in and explain various aspects of meme culture incorrectly angered them severely. Things then took a dark turn for the channel. In mid-2017, he was doxxed, with his full name and address leaked. And then things got even worse after he made a suicide vlog series. Within the series, he said that the hate that he received negatively impacted his mental health. The series ended with a fake suicide video where he pretended to take his own life. But the video was removed for breaking YouTube's terms of service. He apparently did this because he wanted to end the channel, seemingly in quite a dramatic fashion, but his channel didn't end quite there. He returned for a while in late 2022 and made videos for another 6 months. He's since made one last video on the Hawk Tour girl and has since disappeared again. These days, his video view counts are dwarfed by those that he got in 2016 and 2017.
You don't only spit in my face, you spit on the billions of people that watch my videos.
So Masteroogway was once known for creating impressions of the Masteroogway character from the Kung Fu Panda movies. His shtick was that he'd make some sort of crass joke about dating or women, and since it was Masteroogway, there'd be a bit of a comedic juxtaposition of this old sage Yoda-like character telling you to f girls and make money. However, then his content changed. He would spam upload jokes with a particular meme format over and over and over and over again. Oftentimes hundreds of these shorts would be uploaded in a matter of days or weeks. People slowly began to realize that this channel was essentially just farming views with minimal effort put in. But things didn't get really bad until he uploaded a song called Adolf Hitler Is My N-Word. N-word uncensored. Oogway, real name Omer Sastem, claimed that he felt as though he had the right to use the N-word because his great-grandparents were slaves in the Ottoman Empire.
Turns out, my great-great-great-great-great-grandparents were slaves during the Ottoman Empire. Now, I've been wondering what makes a person get the permission to say the N-word. Because I hear Mexican people say the N-word, and I hear Black people say the N-word, and many other races as well. They say it, and they claim that they can say it because they have a history of slavery. So, technically, since my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents are slaves, I am allowed to say it as well. So, I'm gonna say it for the first time in my life properly.
For reference, Sastem is half Turkish and half Dutch. The argument that many people had was that his great-great-great-great-grandparents, if they were even slaves, weren't black, and neither is Omer. Therefore, he had no right to say the word. But despite being cancelled for it, he still uses the N-word, albeit not in an aggressive tone. Let's take a look at the song in question.
Adolf Hitler is my the barrel on his head and pull the trigger. With my nigga Winnie the Pooh and Tigger. The son is addicted to liquor.
The lyrics of this song were crass for the sake of it. This was shock humor and nothing else. That said, once YouTube got a hold of the news, they decided to ban him from the platform. Masteroogway then doubled down and said some things that many people have deemed to be homophobic and transphobic on Twitter. He did quite a lot of finger pointing, saying that YouTube was hypocritical for his ban. His reaction to this prompted a lot of commentary videos on the situation. I've looked through his recent tweets, and he's since said that he wants to sue YouTube. But what's done is done. Masteroogway is now banned from the platform.
When I jumped out of that plane, I had no idea I committed any type of crime whatsoever. It turned out that I actually committed 5 felonies.
I think that it would be a good idea to include Trevor Daniel Jacob in this tier of the iceberg. He's someone that I don't think you'll know by name, but likely will know by incident. Trevor Daniel Jacob was a bit of a daredevil, self-described as an Olympian and adventurer. However, in November 2021, he would take things much too far. According to the United States Department of Justice, on the 24th of November 2021, Jacob took off in his aeroplane from Lombok City Airport on a solo flight reportedly destined for Mammoth Lakes. Jacob did not intend to reach his destination, but instead decided to eject from his aircraft during the flight and videoed himself parachuting to the ground as his plane descended and then crashed. He did this with the intention of going viral on YouTube, which in fairness, he did. But I believe that his infamy superseded his fame. The fact that he was going to face legal action because of this stunt took the story to new levels. He would face 6 months in prison for the video, but he did fully admit to his wrongdoings. His final video, uploaded 10 months ago, was titled, "I got my pilot's license back, but going to prison. Personally, I find it crazy that he got his pilot's license back, and based on the comments, so did most people watching. The video in question received 923 likes compared to 3,000 dislikes, and on YouTube, not a peep has been heard from Trevor Daniel Jacob since. Continuing to move down the iceberg, we're now at tier 4. These are the kinds of creators that I wouldn't expect you to know about, so bonus points if you've ever heard of these stories.
You all know the situation, you've all seen the media reports, and I do not need to discuss it or go into it anymore.
Kicking it off, we have DT from Arsenal Fan TV. So Arsenal Fan TV is a huge YouTube channel over here in the UK. In case you don't know it, Arsenal is a very big club in the Premier League, in what I'd call football and Americans would call soccer. Now, one of the main reasons for Arsenal Fan TV's success is the cast of entertaining characters they have on the channel. And Arsenal Fan TV, otherwise known as AFTV's top contributors, are known to be some of the more unhinged or delusional audience members, with many of them frequently giving funny rants after the team loses. They often say things that age horrendously, or make stupid excuses like the reason the team lost was because it was raining.
Well, it wasn't the best defending. Things can happen. Remember, we mustn't forget that it's been raining, so the pitch is quite...
It's been raining? Yeah. Are you being serious? It's raining for both teams.
I don't know if there's an equivalent to this kind of channel in, say, basketball or American football, so let me know down below if there is. But a lot of football fans, myself included, seem to take immense pleasure in seeing rival fans implode after they lose a game. Anyway though, I'm getting off topic. One of the main contributors to the channel was a man known as DT, real name Liam Goodenough. DT was with AFTV for years, but in 2022, news stories broke about a very severe crime regarding him. He was given a 3-year prison sentence after it was discovered that he had stalked his former partner using a tracking feature on her phone. He drove to the hotel that she was staying at, assaulted her companion, photographed her in a state of undress, and proceeded to kidnap her, allegedly suggesting that he was armed with a knife. The victim would eventually try to escape out of the car that he forced her into, and was helped by a bystander that assisted her getting out. DT was arrested in July 2021, and according to the Metro, was ordered to serve 12 months behind bars after a court hearing in November that year. The sentence was later extended to 3 years in January 2022, which was when the severity of these crimes were revealed to the public. It was at this point that he was entirely cut out of the AFTV picture, and to this day, he hasn't collaborated since. Despite being sentenced for 3 years, he got out extremely early, apparently being released from prison in mid-September 2022. But he still has to abide by a 10-year restraining order against the victim. Once in time, he was seen as a prominent figure for one of, if not football's largest fan accounts. But today, his reputation is in the gutter, and over the past 3 years, he's struggled to gain any new followers on his main channel.
You're saying you're completely innocent of those?
Not completely innocent would be a false statement.
Continuing the trend of arrested YouTubers, Omi In A Hellcat was a content creator with more than 800,000 subscribers and a view count exceeding 65 million. Based on Wayback Machine screenshots, he seemed to be a bit of a flexing influencer. His content hinged on him buying flashy cars and spending money. Now, there are a few ways that you can make enough money to buy these sorts of incredibly flashy items. You could specialize in a well-paying skill, become one of the best in your industry, and then profit. You could be an exceptionally savvy businessman, make some wise investments, and reap the rewards. You could win the lottery, or you could inherit it. Or you could bypass luck and granddad's death altogether and commit financial crime. According to his Wikipedia page, on the morning of November 27th, 2019, his home was raided by the FBI, with them seizing his cars, jewelry, computers, SD cards, television, and the money in his bank account. He was then indicted by the FBI on the 21st of September 2021 on 62 counts, including 19 counts of public performance of a protected work and 6 counts of wire fraud. He pled guilty in February 2022 and was sentenced to 5.5 years of prison and fined $30 million on the 8th of March 2023 on charges of conspiracy, copyright infringement, fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion. His cars were auctioned off by United States Marshals and his jewelry auctioned online. His YouTube channel has since been terminated. If he ever came back to YouTube, it would be quite difficult to replicate the same success, considering that his unique selling point was exposed as fake. And to be honest, YouTube should be the least of his worries, with a $30 million fine on his head and a 5-year prison sentence currently on his hands.
Just something struck me as off, or something struck me as odd with him. I don't know, but now I know why!
This next one comes from you guys. I asked you to give me suggestions of obscure content creators that saw a downfall, and SwaggyG2102 suggested Squimpus McGrimpus, who I take is fairly unheard of outside of the Five Nights at Freddy's community. They were known by many a couple of years ago, with videos that consistently got hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views each. But in late 2020, it appears as though they abandoned their channel just after they had reached 200,000 subscribers. That should have been the end of it. But in March 2023, a burner account went onto Twitter with some fairly damning Discord screenshots of Squimpus McGrimpus admitting that for several years they had exchanged NSFW drawings with someone that they knew were underage. McGrimpus was roughly 17 years old at the time, and the other person was apparently 14. The person that they had sent these NSFW drawings to were also a fan of theirs, and so this burner account alleged that not only was there an imbalance of age, but also status. These interactions happened on and off for years, even into late 2022, by which point McGrimpus would have been 20, and this fan of theirs was apparently 16. Apparently, this was fetish art, and while this expose wasn't meant to kink shame, it was meant to hold Squimpus McGrimpus accountable for their actions. Squimpus McGrimpus would come clean and admit that what had been said was in fact true. They said that they were extremely remorseful for what happened and that they were going to step away for an extended period of time to improve themselves. They haven't posted to Twitter ever since the admission, and within the FNAF community, this is yet another creator that was once revered and is now reviled. Apparently, this is a somewhat common problem for the fanbase.
It just makes me want to rip off my clothes and beat my hairy freaking...
Then we have Azzman, who I've included down here for his obscurity to me personally. This was another one recommended by you guys. Born in 1980, Azzman is a now 44-year-old New Zealander who is apparently a gaming content creator best known for his Yandere Simulator gameplay. According to his Wikitubia, he's been active on YouTube since 2014. However, by 2021, a Twitter user came out to allege that Azzman had groomed them 5 years prior when they were 14 years old. This started a snowball effect of various other minors coming out to claim that they had been approached by him in the past, with claims as abhorrent as him asking his victims for pictures and sending them inappropriate videos of himself. Following the allegations, Azzman would delete his channels and disappear from the internet altogether. However, there was a screenshot of his channel saved to the Wayback Machine mere days before the allegations came out, and so this is what his channel looked like shortly before it was taken down. He had more than 600,000 subscribers, but it seems as though he had been inactive for a while, having seemingly not uploaded in almost a year, and with his recent videos only having a few thousand views despite his large sub count. Let's go down yet another tier to discuss the worst of the worst.
I don't know if he's really sorry. I have serious reservations about it.
These are the darkest stories of downfallen creators. We'll start off this tier with a creator that I recently discussed in my video about banned TikTok users. I'd highly recommend you watch that video after this one comes to a close. His name on the internet was JinnKid. Real name, Ali Abulaban. JinnKid was quite large on various social media platforms, but especially TikTok for skits and impressions, with him building up hundreds of thousands of followers on the app. However, off-screen, Abulaban was having trouble with his partner, Anna. On various different occasions, he allegedly domestically abused her and said that she had cheated on him in the past. The pair also allegedly participated in cocaine use quite frequently. But in October 2021, after being kicked out of his apartment by Anna, Ali had a scheme to sneak back into the home and set up a Discord call so that he could spy on Anna. Hours later, and through this call, he heard her speaking to a man. And so, while high on cocaine, he drove over to the apartment, armed with a gun. He shot both Anna and the man that she was with, Rabin Baron. He then sent pictures of the bodies to his mother and went to pick up his 5-year-old daughter from school. The police were called after a neighbour had allegedly heard the shooting, and they would eventually track down Abulaban and arrest him in front of his daughter. 3 years on, and his sentence was finally confirmed a few weeks ago. The idea of the death penalty was apparently floated around, but in the end, he was instead sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. The judge told him that he would take his final breath in prison, even questioning whether Abulaban was actually sorry for the murder or just sorry for the consequences.
I don't know if he's really sorry. I have serious reservations about it. I know he's sorry about the consequences. The bottom line here is he will die in prison. He will never be a free man. He will take his last breath there.
Once a well-liked TikToker, he's now an inmate for the rest of his days.
Abso-fucking-notly. Abso-fucking-notly.
We're going to continue with people who have been charged with murder, with Stephen McCullough. He's a now 34-year-old who was accused of murdering his pregnant partner named Natalie McNally back in December 2022. Now, this case isn't the most obscure, but the lengths at which Stephen McCullough is said to have gone to conduct this heinous deed are so sickening that I think it warrants its place this far into the video. As a way to create a fake alibi for the crime, he staged a fake livestream while it took place. To this very day, the alleged livestream is still up on YouTube. And as the comments on the video were saying, the people in his chats were genuinely excited to see him. However, this was all a ruse. Throughout the livestream, McCullough dropped hints to what he was about to do.
I just realised I'm literally going to be drinking and driving. In the game, by the way, I'm not leaving the house tonight, so yeah, in the game I will be drunk while driving in the game. I'll be drunk in real life, I'll be driving in the game. So I thought you were supposed to like run him off the road and kill him, much like your woman. Attack, panic, attack. That's what we're doing. Yeah, that's physics. That's what would happen in the real world. Abso-fucking-notly. Abso-fucking-notly.
Of course, it would have been impossible for anyone in the chat to piece this together. Nobody could have possibly known what was going through his mind at the time. But while this happened, he murdered his partner that was 15 weeks pregnant. According to ITV, he did it because he had apparently found some text exchanges with her ex over WhatsApp. McCullough pled not guilty to the murder charges, despite it being known by law enforcement that he had searched up methods of murder online. It was announced in September that the trial was set for the 6th of May 2025. If found guilty, it would be to the wish of many that he never sees the light of day out of prison ever again. And from someone who seems to have at one point been beloved by his small community of 35,000, he is now one of the most reviled figures on the internet due to these disgusting allegations.
I mean, not just killing some random people, but killing your own family?
Now on to Mr. Anime. If you've watched Iceberg charts about YouTubers before, I'd anticipate that you might know who this is. If not, I have a horrible story for you. Trey Eric Sessler opened his YouTube account in September 2006, and as his moniker suggests, he loved anime. His channel, which is still up today under the name LensCapProductions, shows the kind of content that he used to upload. We're talking lots of small random videos reminiscent of old YouTube. Some skits, some anime reviews, and if you look hard enough, you'll begin to notice a small trend that began to ramp up. That being videos where he'd have a gun. People at the time didn't think anything of it. Using guns in skits were kind of par for the course. But given what happened next, Sessler's affinity for firearms has aged terribly. In early 2012, the then 22-year-old announced that he was going to take a break from YouTube to reward himself for the recent channel growth that he had seen. At the time, it said that he had roughly 4,000 subscribers. He had also recently landed a job that he was very excited for. So all things considered, his life seemed to be on the right track.
I want to thank you guys a lot for sticking with me and watching the channel. I got more subscribers than ever. I have more views than ever, and everything is going really good.
However, what happened next would shock the world, as on the 20th of March, Trey would shoot his mother, followed by his brother and father inside their home, leading the chief of police to describe the crime scene as a war zone. And while this seemed to come out of nowhere, there was a twisted reason for it. Sessler had bigger plans at play. He wanted to shoot up Waller High School, where he previously attended. He was fascinated by Columbine, one of the most notorious mass shootings of all time, and he wanted to do something of that scale to Waller High School. However, after murdering his family and driving over to the school, he had second thoughts. He said that things got too real and decided to head over to a friend's house. A welfare check was conducted towards the family that day, and Sessler was arrested hours later. He would later reveal that the reason he decided to take the lives of his family members was because he didn't want them to live with the shame knowing what he did at Waller. This was one of the first ever incidents where a somewhat notable figure online was booked for a serious crime, so it's understandable that many people didn't know how to react. Gigguk, for example, now a very large anime YouTuber in his own right, had this to say.
I'm just completely shocked. I really don't know how to feel about this, and just knowing that someone like this had an effect on me, had a personal effect on my life, and that I've actually talked with. I'm just, oh, this is fucked up.
Sessler was given life in prison without the possibility of parole, and for very obvious reasons, he never made another YouTube video ever again. And life imprisonment is about as big of a downfall as I could possibly imagine. So that's all we have time for today. We've officially gotten to the bottom of the iceberg. If you like this format of video, then please let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Maybe we could do a part 2 at some point in the future, but I'm only going to do it if there's demand for it. If you like iceberg charts, then why not check out my one on YouTube conspiracies from this time last year. If you're not feeling that and instead want something a bit longer, then why not check out my 2-hour-long video about infamous banned users and content on social media. That was one of my favourite videos that I've ever made. Click on the screen now to watch it. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. Aside from that, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.